Hi everyone, it's Rex, bringing you another amazing guide for Season 27. Might really only be viable in Season 27, the Magic Missile Firebird's Wizard. Now, in the beginning, the Sanctified Powers made Magic Missile Fire 20, which was incredible, but Blizzard nerfed it not because it was too strong, but because it was too laggy. Still, Magic Missile now fires 10 of them, which is still a lot of fun to play, and it's still really strong. So I'm going to take you through and show you exactly how to put this together with some gameplay. And of course, Mr. Chewy here, a lovely member of the Maxroll team, has written an amazing guide over on Maxroll. So if you want the full details, check out the article written by him. Starting with the solo push setup, there are a couple different ways you can do this, but I like this particular way because every single item that you wear is green except two of them. We're going to wear Firebirds, and we're going to wear Augilds, and we're going to wear Focus and Restraint, and we're going to wear Captain Crimsons. This is by far the most value you'll ever see out of Ring of Royal Grandeur ever. And pretty much the entire idea goes around Firebirds. Let me scroll down here so we can actually see it. Okay, there we go. So here's the basic idea. You disintegrate to ignite enemies, okay? And the two-piece also gives you a cheat death. Okay, it does some damage, okay, that doesn't really matter. The four-piece, now it adds combustion stacks. This is going to give you essentially infinite teleports as long as you keep using disintegrate very often. So when you aren't throwing magic missiles, you're going to use disintegrate. Not too bad, and you're going to get damage reduction. And then finally, you're going to do 5,000% increased damage when you have an ignite applied. And hitting an ignited enemy with a non-channeling fire spell deals ignite damage multiplied by combustion stacks. Pets cannot trigger this effect. So what that means is when you light stuff on fire with disintegrate, every fire spell that you can hit them with that isn't channeled, so not disintegrate, something else, is going to do massive damage. This is where the 10 magic missiles come in. If you light them on fire with disintegrate and then hit a monster with 10 magic missiles, they are going to take incredible damage from the Firebird set. So that is a key thing to understand. You are essentially detonating the 6-piece of Firebirds. We just did a challenge rift on NA where a lovely individual tried to put together a Firebirds build, but he clearly didn't understand how the build worked. So it's not that the magic missiles directly deal damage, it's that the magic missiles are triggering the Firebird set, and they must be ignited with disintegrate. So what it ends up being is you hold disintegrate until you have 50 stacks, then you teleport with disintegrate all the time. You start lighting everything on fire, they're taking no damage yet, and then you back yourself into a corner and you start throwing magic missiles at them. It starts triggering the 6-piece and blows everything up. That's the basic idea. So now we go into the weapon, and we are going to take the Fragment of Destiny. If you're wondering why it's a weird color, in Season 27 you get superpowers. Every class has 3 of them. You're going to find little consumables in the world, and they're called Angelic Crucibles, and you apply it to any item of your choice, and you can upgrade it to a sanctified item. It's going to be Primal Ancient, and it's going to get one of the superpowers. Obviously, the superpower that we want is Magic Missile fires 10 missiles. This is what we need to make this build work. Fragment of Destiny itself, your signature spells attack 50% faster and deal triple damage. Well, the triple damage doesn't matter. Our Magic Missile doesn't do damage, remember? It just triggers the Firebirds bonus. But the attacks 50% faster is very helpful. And it makes Hydras do more damage. That doesn't help us at all. We just take it for the 50% faster attacks to get more missiles for more 6-piece procs. In general, all the normal stuff is good for this build. However, you don't want area damage because area damage doesn't work. So we're going to take no area damage anywhere, including don't take it in Paragon Points because it just lags the game for no reason. So no area damage. And another great thing about this build is you don't need too much cooldown reduction either. So now you can focus on crit hit damage, crit hit chance, attack speed, and elite damage and stuff like that. So that's why on the Fragment of Destiny, we want percent damage, attack speed, and elite damage over the normal area damage and cooldown. For the offhand, we will take Firebirds, and the rest of the stuff is going to kind of fall into place because you really don't have much of a choice. You got to take all the sets to play it with this particular way. So here we want fire damage, intelligence, crit, and elite damage as the best rolls. For the boots, we want intelligence, vitality, All Resist, and Armor to stay alive. On the pants, we'll take Captain Crimson's, and we'll take Int, Vite, and Armor. And here we can actually sock it with Topazes to deal more damage. It's going to give us a tiny bit of survivability. If you find that you can't stay alive at very low Paragon, you can actually take Diamonds, might be better than Armor. But once you get a decent amount of Paragon, then the Armor from either Dexterity or Strength are going to be better for survivability purposes. For the rings, we're going to take Focus and Restraint. And the rolls we want here are Attack, Speed, Crit, Crit. Remember, the faster you attack, the more magic missiles you get out, the more procs you get from the 6 piece of Firebirds. And then we'll take Bayonet the Stricken. That way we can build the Stricken stacks on the Guardian and get them down. But this is one of the best RGKs, so at lower tiers, you could probably get away with not taking this gem. Then focus on the other side, same rolls, Attack, Speed, Crit, Crit, and we'll take Bane of the Trapped for more damage. For the belt, Captain Crimson's again. Int, Vite, Percent Life, and Armor are the best rolls. On the gloves, Int, Attack Speed, Crit, Crit. Remember, we don't need cooldown, and we don't need area damage, so you might as well take Intelligence instead. On the shoulders, we'll take Augilds, Int, Vite, Percent Life, and Cooldown. We can take a cooldown roll here, because there's nothing else really to get that's super beneficial. Could take Armor instead, potentially. On the chest, we'll take Int, Vite, and Percent Life. Percent Life is pretty good here, because remember, the higher your health pool, the bigger your shield. So that's why Percent Life is better here, whereas on some other builds, it would be better to get percent reduced elite damage, which is a very common roll. And then again, we'll take the Topazes for more damage. On the hat, we want Int, Vite, and Crit Hit Chance, and we'll put a diamond in our helmet to get some cooldown. For the amulet, we're going to take Squirt's Necklace. We have some shields with things like Galvanizing Ward, so hopefully we will have some uptime here. But the main idea is if you find a shield pylon, you're going to get 2 minutes of double damage, which is going to be incredible. We want Fire, Crit, Crit for the rolls, and we'll take Pain Enhancer, which is going to give us a massive attack speed boost to throw more magic missiles to do more damage. Last but not least, we have the bracers. Augilds again to complete the set. Fire, Int, Vit, and then we want Crit Hit Chance to round it off. Now let's jump into the skills. For the first one, we're going to take Explosive Blast Chain Reaction. This thing does 2 things for us. The first thing is it procs our Orb of Infinite Depth. As long as you hit enemies with the Explosive Blast, it's going to trigger this and it's going to keep you alive. So you kind of want to give the enemies a hug. The second reason is remember, Firebirds, the 6 piece, does damage when you have A, ignited them with Disintegrate, and then B, hit them with a different fire skill. In general, we're hitting them with Magic Missile, but this Explosive Blast Chain Reaction is going to be constantly going off too. It's going to give you some extra damage. And for speed content, you can actually just run around just with Explosive Blast and kill everything if they'll die in just 1 hit. For teleport, we're going to get infinite teleports anyway, naturally from the Firebird set. So we'll take the Safe Passage one to give us 25% less damage. Black Hole Spell Steal is for more damage. So, and they're also going to deal less damage, so it's kind of a dual function here. It does work very well. However, you don't have to use Black Hole if you find the playstyle to be a little bit clunky between disintegrating, black holing, magic missiling. If that's too much, you could take one of the armors, for example. You could take Energy Armor or Storm Armor. You could even take a Familiar if you want. So this one's a little bit optional. Magic Weapon Deflection, we need this to get a protective shield to help us keep our Squirts buff up. Magic Missile with the Fire Rune. Obviously, we have to take that because it's the entire point of the build. We disintegrate, and then we throw magic missiles, and then they die. Disintegrate is obviously required, and a very common question is, Rax, why don't you take the Fire Disintegrate? Remember, it's not the Disintegrate that has to be fire. It has to be the spells that land after Disintegrate. So Magic Missile needs to be fire. Explosive Blast needs to be fire. But Disintegrate doesn't have to. And the Chaos Nexus is very nice because it hits multiple enemies that are off to the side. It makes life easier. And now on to the passives. The first one is Audacity. We're going to deal more damage to enemies that are right next to us. You might be wondering, Rax, why are we going to get near enemies? Remember, we have to. We have to get next to enemies to trigger our Explosive Blast for more damage and, more importantly, to proc our Orb of Infinite Depth. And also, you have a better chance of hitting with the magic missiles when you're close to them. Galvanizing Ward gives us a shield. It keeps us alive and protects our Squirt's Necklace. Elemental Exposure is going to give us more damage when we use the different elements. And Unwavering Will is going to give us armor, all resist, and damage. In the cube, Orb of Infinite Depth is required. You hit with Explosive Blast, you get a bunch of defense. You need this to stay alive and to protect your Squirt's necklace. Shame of Delzir, your signature spells attack 50% faster, more magic missiles, and restore 12 arcane power. Great. Ring of Royal Grandeur is required to complete our Christmas tree formation to take 100 sets in a single build. When you are doing speed GRs, not too much has to change. Well, first of all, we don't need Pain Enhancer and we don't need Bane of the Stricken anymore, so we can take Gogok and Bane of the Powerful instead. Then we can also pick up the Dominance passive. This is not something that is used very often. Killing an enemy is going to grant a shield. It's going to help us keep our Squirt's necklace up. And pretty much you run with pretty much the same skills, and if you go low enough, your Explosive Blast will just naturally kill everything. But if anything stays alive, after you've disintegrated them, hit them with a couple magic missiles, and they'll be fried. And when you're doing T16, you can change this build up a lot. You don't even need magic missiles anymore, as we alluded to earlier. You can just kill everything with Explosive Blast, and you can take an Edge Sigil and a Ransor's Folly, which are going to throw energy twisters everywhere. And Echoing Fury is going to give you massive attack speed, and you're going to get movement speed from the Rachel's Ring of Larceny. You can take a Boot of the Hoarder to throw gold everywhere with a gold wrap to be immortal, and you can take an Ingeom to have infinite cooldown on your Explosive Blast, and just teleport around and just watch everything die around you. And finally, for the Paragon Points, first we'll take movement speed, then just enough vitality to stay alive. Remember, vitality buffs your shield, so it actually does matter. And then pump all the rest into intelligence. You don't need any maximum arcane power. You'll be fine without it. For offense, take attack speed first, then crit hit damage, then crit hit chance, and cooldown reduction last. For defense, take armor, then life, then all resist, then life per second. And finally, for utility, take life on hit, then resource cost reduction, then bonus to pickup radius, and do not take area damage. Put no points in here. It doesn't give you any extra damage, and it's just going to lag your game. Leave it blank the whole season. All right, let's jump into some gameplay, and let's see this build in action. All right, everybody, let's see this lovely build in action. First, you want to activate your magic missile, and you can spam your Explosive Blast here instead of Black Hole. I am using Frost Nova, which is fine. You can use whatever you want. But pretty much you just hold down Disintegrate, and you interrupt that with Teleport. So you dash, dash, dash. And then you just, when you find a big pack of monsters, spin around in a little circle, hit them all with Disintegrate, and that's going to ignite them. And then to deal all of your damage, you will just smash them with magic missiles, and they'll die very quickly. As you can see here, we're doing some speed 115s at 2000 Paragon. So this build is still pretty strong. So it's too bad that they had to nerf it, but they nerfed it for lag, not because it was too powerful. And as you can see, now you see him, now you don't. Once you have the yellow ignited from the Disintegrate and hit him with the 10 magic missiles, they got absolutely no chance to survive. You can see that I'm pretty tanky. And yeah, the pretty high quality of life because you have tremendous mobility from the infinite teleports. So even on a bad map like this, doesn't bother me at all. And if you turned it down even further, as we mentioned earlier, your Explosive Blast is also triggering some of the Firebird's 6-piece. So that's dealing a lot of damage to everything near you as well. So here we go, we got a blue, okay. Oh, they died instantly, what a surprise. No problem. I don't know, for some reason I find this build very satisfying to play. I am 99% sure at some point I am going to make this next season and play in hardcore because, I don't know, it's just fun. Something very satisfying about arriving to a pack, lighting it on fire, and then detonating it never seems to get old. And the fact that it's so good on bosses and elites where most builds are not is just the icing on the cake for me. So, yeah, and another thing that cannot be underestimated for pushing is, sometimes you'll open a really good map, right? You'll open a Festering or a Battlefields, you'll have a pretty nice lead. And you go next, and it's like a crappy Keeps, right? And you're like, oh, great, I lost. Well, with Firebirds, you didn't really lose, right? Because you can use the infinite teleport to just go to the next map. So probably compared to most builds, this build is probably a little bit less fishy, which is going to be very enticing for some players. You know, you don't have to plug 1,000 greater of keys to get somewhere close to your potential. It's pretty good news. But really have had no problems going with this. Is this, as fast at killing as every single other build in the game? No, it's a little bit slower, requires a little bit of setup. But like I said, I find it to be very satisfying. And, once you get some power, you're going to be able to do some pretty high GRs, both in solo push and in speed. So I think this is going to be one of the best builds. Okay, we got a power pile. Let's see how long the Rift Guardian can survive. Boom, gone instantly. Hope you guys liked the video. I'll see you in Season 27.